Greetings programs and welcome to Raid World War II, which if you follow Payday 2 at all you may have heard of, because I believe it's being published by the same company that publishes Payday. It's a little bit confusing, the situation with, you know, the companies that are the publishers and the companies that are the studios that actually make this thing. But the studio in this case is called Lion Game Lion. It's a Croatian studio and I believe it's being published by Starbreeze, but don't quote me on any of that. So what this is Payday 2, except during World War II. Kind of. I will say that, kind of. Mechanically, there are a lot of things that are quite similar about this game, and there are a lot of things that you will find familiar if you've played Payday 2. But they do seem to maybe be trying for a slightly different angle on things. Now, the way you play this is if you have Payday 2 of any version or stripe or whatever, you can basically at the moment go into Payday 2, click on the Raid World War II thing in the main menu, and it will let you download the beta of Raid. And there's not a lot here at the moment, to be quite honest. There's 3 different raids, I guess they're called, and 4 characters, and I would assume that there will be more characters added later on, but yeah, it does seem to basically be them just doing a mass stress test to see if it works, if the game engine is, you know, what problems there might be, if the netcode is fine, if the matchmaking works, you know, all these kind of things that it's quite useful to just let the public at it. And given that they gave away quite a lot of copies of Payday 2 for free, I would imagine that there have been quite a few people that have been trying this. So yeah, on the face of it, this looks all very Payday 2-ish. I mean, I think it's the same game engine. This is your base, which I don't think you can really do with anything at the moment, but it might eventually come to be that you can upgrade it like your Payday 2 base. You've got various different things, so you can select the mission. If you want to launch one yourself, you can join someone else's mission via the radio set. There's there we go, that's the character select thing. There's 4 different characters at the moment. There's also 4 different classes, but they're not tied together. You can have any combination of character and class. So you've got Sterling, I don't know why I called it Sporks, but anyway, who's the, you know, the British character. We've got an American Marine type character. We've got a Soviet Union soldier, and then for some reason they decided to have this guy who there's not really a lot of detailed backstory with any of the characters, but it seems a little weird that there would be a German ex. I'm not even sure if he's supposed to be like SS or Wehrmacht, but yeah, the little blurb says, oh, he's been his former, you know, comrades in arms turned on him basically, and now he's sworn to take down the Reich. And it's a bit kind of like, okay, of all the characters we could have had, like a, you know, you could have had someone from one of the resistances of the many European countries that were occupied, but instead we get a German character who's an ex-Nazi, or ex-Nazi if we're being charitable. I guess we have to assume they're an ex-Nazi. And the irony is, this beta isn't actually available in Germany because it's got swastikas and things in, and a kind of comedy depiction of Hitler. So yeah, there's a German character, but if it was aimed at German players being able to play it, then they can't, because they can't play it because it's not available in Germany. So there you go. So the 4 classes alongside the 4 characters are, you've got assaults who have assault rifles as their primaries. It makes mention of being trained in the use of, so presumably they can then also get access to different types of weapons as you go through, but I've not gotten that far yet. I've only played this for about 2.5 hours so far. Recon are the guys that get a Springfield rifle. Demo guys get armed with shotguns, and it makes mention of blowing things up, but there's not really any kind of specific thing to do with explosives in the couple of missions that we've got so far. And then you've also got the Insurgent, who has SMGs. They've also all these different classes got like a power up, I guess you would call it, or a shout or a call or whatever they're calling it. But basically you get a certain number of kills, I believe it is, and you're able to do a shouty power thing which gives you some kind of bonus. Now I can actually quickly show you all of the weapons that there are at the moment. So each of the classes locked to a single weapon. So you've got the Sten for the assault class, you've got an M1 carbine, you've got an M12 shotgun for the demo guy, and the Springfield M1903 rifle for the sniper, essentially. And I've only tried 2 of the 4 classes so far, the demo guy and the M1 carbine. I have to say, you know, it's a limited choice of guns, and yes, it's a beta, but one of the nice things about Payday 2 with the characters and the classes is the ability to make different builds, different skill sets, and to fit weapons to those builds, or else make skill sets around certain weapons. That doesn't really seem to be part of this, or at least it's not part of this beta. It might be that they have plans to vastly expand the number of weapons and to change how the skill sets work, but as it is, you know, there's a single secondary pistol for all classes, and then there's a single primary for all classes at the moment. There are also upgrade paths for the weapons, but unlike Payday where you're fitting parts of the weapons, it's literally just you're upgrading like aspects of the weapons, so magazine size, accuracy, and that will change the visual look of the weapon, but it's not you deciding yourself, oh, I want to have better accuracy at the cost of rate of fire or something like that. It seems to literally just be straight upgrade trees based on well, you can see yourself there, you just have to meet certain conditions. This all might change, you know, this is just how it is at the moment. This is literally them doing a kind of, it's not quite an open beta, but I'd call it a semi-open beta, because as I say, there are a lot of people with copies of Payday around. So that's how the weapons look, and how you upgrade weapons. Character trees similar. It's not even really a tree, it's kind of a similar thing. You've got basically 3 different kind of rows of upgrades, and it's not particularly comprehensive, at least not compared to Payday systems. So you've got things like how quickly you can swap weapons. I mean, there are class specific skills, but it's rather like you can just basically choose one from each row as you level up the characters, and so you can't have like a stealth build or a whatever build. You know, you can customize a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be nearly as comprehensive. So I don't know if that's just a placeholder for something a bit more complicated coming in later on, or if they really want to try and make all that side of things with the character customization and the weapon customization a lot more simplified in favour of maybe concentrating more on the missions themselves. Now, having said the missions themselves, we'll actually we'll start off a mission and we might get people joining. You can, as with Payday, you can have, you know, just yourself being in a mission, and basically the bots will come along with you. But as with Payday 2, the bots aren't super great. I have had them kind of get stuck and just be way off behind me in the distance, and it's not very useful. So this is obviously the matchmaking screen. We could wait for people to join, but I'll just start. I did note, however, they seem to have something maybe similar. It's sort of halfway in between the things that you can add to weapons in Payday. I forget what they're called, but you can add like bonuses to weapons in Payday that give like extra XP or extra whatever for a round. And there are also things called mutators, and they seem to have married both of those ideas in this challenge card system. I don't actually have any to try out, but I would assume that you would set a challenge card at the start, and so therefore you would have enemies, you know, that are different or tougher overall or whatever. So lots of things coming in from Payday, but I'm not quite sure where they want to go with this yet, because the actual 3 missions themselves, they are in the parlance of Payday 2, they're all loud. I don't think it's possible to do them stealthed, and that's one of the really smart things about the design of Payday, is that you have essentially almost 2 games in one, because a lot of the missions you can be stealthy or you can be loud. But in this case, the only stealthy weapon you get is your melee weapon, and the missions just don't seem to be designed for you to be able to go through and melee everybody, because you get close enough to actually to melee people. You can see there that somebody has already noticed, and there we go, stealth is just completely out of the anyway. So yeah, it just seems to be, you know, full frontal run in, and even if I was to stealth the first bit, it does seem basically impossible to stealth the next bit, because now we have to blow up the front door essentially. So, you know, it's hard to do that in a stealthy fashion. There is, I mean, one of the familiar elements from Payday 2, which I think was quite a nice idea, is that you get a certain degree of like randomization. Standing way around the open there, that's probably a bad plan. So that, like, having played this through before, the entrance that I needed to get through was actually all the way over here. So not everything will be in the same place every single time, which is, you know, that adds a bit of something to it. Right, let's see if I can get the bots to pick up the... I can command the bots, but I don't think I can actually... Okay, no, this is going to be a bit of a pain. I'm going to have to actually walk the things over myself. So the soldiers will all just spawn. I need to find some health kits or something. Which is not good. Yeah, the soldiers will all just keep respawning, so you can't really like clear out an area. Let's see if there's some health kits over here. Oh, there's more gas cans though. I could try and, if I could get close enough, I could maybe try and throw in a grenade or something. You can only hold on to the grenades so long, so you can cook grenades a bit, but terrible at aiming. There we go. I think that might clear out that nest. Oh, hello. Not played the assault class, not the assault class, the insurgent class before, so I don't particularly have any skills. Right, I can activate a war cry. Not entirely sure what the war cry does for this class. It seems to highlight enemies. Like the assault class war cry, for instance, makes you more resistant to damage and also heals your allies. And, you know, it's things like that. Right, okay, this is a crate we can just open. There's got a wee lockpick system where some crates you have to actually open them. And this is definitely a different thing from Payday 2, because the way you replenish ammo in Payday, you know, you've got ammo bags that you can pick up, but also you can pick up a lot of ammo from fallen enemies, and you can pick up some ammo, like for instance, there we go, that's a health kit I could pick up, but it's definitely, like, the game is a lot less generous with what there is to collect off fallen enemies. Right, okay, that did respawn, so we need one more of these. I might just skip ahead to having gotten the final one so we can move on to the next bit. I kind of also hope I might get some drop-ins from random players, I don't know. I could have just dropped in on somebody else, but then I wouldn't have been able to do the thing from the start necessarily. So here we go, I've got the first gas canister. I think I interrupted my thought before. I was going to say that, yeah, some of the crates are actually, there's like a lockpick system. I can't remember if I said that or not, but it's a bit basic. It's not even like Skyrim or Fallout or whatever. I'm not entirely... Oh, hello, that's a bunch of... oh, there we go, that's a lockpickable one there, so I'll actually maybe do that once we've shot the dudes. Yeah, so... It's all like, it's a lot that's kind of familiar but at the same time different, and I really hope in particular that they have the option for stealth, because I like that in Payday 2, that you can feel sometimes like, okay, I want to do stealth, or you just want to, you know, grab a minigun and go all guns blazing, and it kind of makes sense that you might not necessarily have the range of weapons that you have in Payday 2, but even for all this is, I think, meant as a technical test rather than anything else, and also obviously it's helping, you know, advertise the game a bit, bring people's awareness that this game exists and is in development. It just feels a lot more limited overall, and just in terms of like what there is, how these missions are kind of laid out, the amount of I don't know what there is to, you know, the steps that you need to go through. Right, oh, last time we had to go up through. Okay. There are actually lockpicking skills, but I mean, there's lockpicking in Payday too. You can have to lockpick. You can have to lockpick your way into explosive barrels, by the way, into like safety deposit boxes and things. So there are specifically, you know, lockpicking skills in Payday 2 as well. But it seems to be a much more frequent thing in this one, because a lot of the crates you need the lockpicks to get into. But the skills don't seem to pick. Like, I don't know why you would take lockpicking skills over some of the other character skills. That's taking a bunch of damage at the moment. I don't know if body armor is going to be a thing at some point as well. I mean, that kind of makes sense that it would. I don't know. It seems like it really feels like just a technical test at the moment. It is pretty damn bare bones, and it's not bad, but it's just, I don't know. There's things that would good in Payday 2 that it would make sense for there to be in this as well, considering that they clearly want it to be a similar kind of game with a different setting. So this is just us guarding the bomb, and you know, like this is why we can't stealth this. We're literally blowing the front doors off. How do you stealth that? There doesn't seem to be an option to stealth it. So anyway, so I was going to say something then. Completely forgotten. Can't remember. Anyway, probably wasn't important. There's about to be a boom. Let's just watch the boom. There we go. You do get your squad mates calling out things, I think, regardless of whether you're you know, whether they're AI or not. There's a lot less kind of, like, you get some indicators, and did I really need to pick that up? I don't know. Right. But yeah, there are some things where they do seem to more kind of rely on the squad callouts, letting you know stuff's happening, as opposed to the visual indicators. Because I think you get the equivalent of assault waves, and there are at least one kind of special enemy at the moment. You get flamethrower enemies, which are rather nasty. Yeah, so this is us basically, you know, do the objective, defend the objective, do the objective, defend the objective, and it's just that a couple of times over. If there was some way to be sneaky about this, I think that would be quite fun. Oh yeah, you get static energies that you can have, yeah. So I think that's an officer. I guess that must be a special enemy. It's just, I have to say, overall, and this is one of the other things I wanted to mention, the gunplay just feels, I think, a little bit lacking somehow, and I've been struggling to identify what it is, because Payday 2 is quite fun, and it might not even be the actual process of running around shooting things. It might just be like the way the enemies come at you, or like the enemy variety, or the I don't know, lack of the less variety of enemies. I don't know what it is, but there's something that is just, it's not as satisfying as running around blapping things in Payday. Oh yeah, that's one of the, yeah, flamethrowers are nasty, and you seem to have to hit them in the head basically. And now I can't even hit them in the head when I'm down. Yeah, this is all basically the same as Payday 2. Oh god, right, I can't even get away from the flamethrower and I immediately get killed again. Yeah, the bots, I mean, like Payday 2, the bots are quite tanky. You kind of need them to... Yeah, flamethrowers are really annoying. There we go. I don't know how many times you can go down. I mean, it's 3 times by default in Payday 2. But, yeah, they're all just running into the flames to die. Well done. So yeah, those are probably the nastiest thing you can meet is the flamethrower enemies. It's a bit easier when you've got more people, not just bots. But aside from them, they don't really seem to be like the officers might be special in some way. It's hard to tell. Right, that was a dog tag, by the way. You find them in various places. They give you a little bonus. If you find enough of them, you can get other things. Right, so that's the first one done. Oh yeah. So basically, we have to go and do the same again. The whole point of this is there's some Nazi scientists in an airship, and we're gonna blow up the airship. And that's it, pretty much. The setting's a little bit interesting though. It's one of the Berlin flak towers, which is not a setting you see particularly often in games. Did we run past it? Where is it? Okay, that's a little confusing. How do we get through to that? This is where the level randomization. I have done this one before. Do we have to? No, it's a little confusing. How do we get through to this this thing that we want? That's not a door we can go through. No. So last time round it was no, that's a dead end, I think. Yeah, that's one of the spawn points. I don't know if they're trying to be like, my thought was maybe they're trying to go for some sort of, you know, co-op Wolfenstein style thing, but it doesn't. Like, I played a little bit of that on console, and it doesn't, like, in terms of just running around shooting things, that's a far more fun experience. But it's obviously got a rather different kind of focus to it. Where the heck am I supposed to go? Right, yeah, this is the point where it gets annoying, because there's not really, like with this and some of the other level designs, some of them have got cover, but you get to certain points in some of them and there's not a lot of cover, and it's not like Payday. So, just for these preliminary designs even, it's not particularly, like it feels like it could be better. Right, is this where we need to go, or is that... No, that just takes me back through there. This is just some kind of storage room. That's actually a good thing, because I need some health right now. I mustn't forget I've got grenades. I keep forgetting I've got grenades. Health kits? Health kits. There we go. Oh, I do. That's just... Ow! That's rude. Well, if there's one thing that this game does, you know, tell you about the Nazis, it's that. It's that. Very good. Just go around shoving you. I honestly... How do I... Oh, hello. There's no... I mean, if this was like Payday 2, it would be like, oh yeah, I'm using a dodge build right now, or I'm using an armoured build, or there's just none of that. I don't know how I get to this gas valve. Because it looks like it should just be, I don't know, like super close, and what am I missing? Oh, it's in here. Okay, it's just I'm a dummy. That's what it is. Oh, there's a crowbar there as well. Yeah, much like Payday, sometimes there are crates that can only be opened by crowbar. So, now we have to defend this room, basically. Oh, that was super quick. We didn't have to stick around and defend that one. That one just kind of blew up. Not sure. Wasn't paying attention there. Right. So yeah, it's a little bit. I don't know. I'm hoping that there's a lot more polish in the final thing, because this feels a little unpolished at the moment. This feels a bit kind of like, if I hadn't played Payday 2, I'd probably be a bit more kind of, you know, forgiving for what this is, but it's a bit lacking considering I know what Payday 2 is and how fun that can be. And given that it's so similar to Payday 2, it feels like, I don't know, Payday 2 Lite at the moment is the best way to describe it. Just, you know, obviously the setting's rather different. Actually, let's try... Ooh. Swap to a grenade. See how they like that. I haven't even used my pistol yet, but it's not that good. The weapon accuracy, that's one of the things maybe why it does feel a bit kind of, I don't know, the weapon accuracy feels a bit different than Payday. Right, this should be nearly done. And then we have to do the last bit, which is using some 88mm flak guns to blow up the engines, essentially, of the Zeppelin, because it's just a random Zeppelin. Oh. Hello. So this is, I mean, instead of the game kind of, you know, going, okay, now you must go here and here, basically have to listen to the other characters saying, oh, we're going to go up and use the AA guns. Right, so picking up some ammo, we could do with some help if we run across some. So yeah, I think, you know, as a basis, I'm sure there will be more characters, I'm sure there will be more weapons. I don't, you know, like, this is not anything like a final judgment, basically. This is me just having my early initial thoughts, having played a couple of hours of this. And there's just, I don't think there is much more than maybe a couple of hours of play, just because there's only those 3 missions in it at the moment, more than anything else particularly. Because if Payday 2 only had, like, literally 3 heists and a very limited selection of guns and only 4 characters, you know, I don't think I'd play that for more than a couple of hours either. So there's very little chance I'm going to grind it enough to get to a high enough character level to see what the higher level character perks are like and see what it's like to have a fully uploaded fully upgraded weapon, because it would require just playing the same thing over and over and over, which is, you know, if I want to do that, I'd go and grind a stock tank in World of Tanks or something, you know, or I've been doing battleship grinds in, oh, let's go around through the other side apparently, in all the warships within the British line, and yeah, I can only do so many stock things in one day, just grinding over and over again. And in the case of the Iron Duke, it was pretty horrible. Right, I think we just, it's easiest if we go out the roof, and again, this is part of the randomisation, because last time round it was all on the other side. Right, there's actually a line there. I mean, it comes close to that level of frenetic, you know, running around and enemies spawning everywhere that you get from Payday 2, but I think Payday 2 still does it better. I think it does show that even though it's a similar style of game, and it's the same engine, and it's very heavily influenced, that it is a different studio making it than Overkill. So yeah, basically, if you've got more than one person, you can have multiple people doing this, but as with the gas canisters, I have to do it all myself, so flat gun, fire the flat gun, and ideally the bots will be covering me while they're doing this. There's probably, like, if I spent longer, I don't know if there's I mean, there's more dog tags that I could find, for instance, and I don't know if there's other hidden things besides. One of the, like, you go through the intro, one of the things, because they got John Cleese to be, like, your controller guy. He's like, oh yeah, if some Nazi gold happens to go missing during all of this, yeah, we won't inquire too closely. So there might be crates of gold somewhere. One of the other heists is literally you get some gold from a train. And, you know, it becomes that classic Payday 2 thing of humping, well, crates rather than bags, but yeah, there's definitely humping of things from A to B. And that's probably the most Payday 2-ish feeling. Is it wanting me to... Oh, it's wanting me to... Okay, never mind, I've got to do one more. Is that new? It might be new, actually, because... that's been running all the way around, that's very awkward. This has just been getting, like, small daily patches, essentially. So, you know, they are changing and tweaking things on a fairly regular basis, so there's every chance that, like, a week's time from now, some of what I'm saying might just not be... Right, that can't turn all the way around. how are we gonna... Okay, we need a different one. Actually, I need health. Hello! You're all a bunch of dudes. That's pretty much is like Payday 2. I can probably use my war cry. I don't know if that really helps at all. One of the few things that's different about combat, and I was actually going to mention this earlier, is that the melee, like you have separate melee weapons. It's not just here's a melee key. It's you actually have a melee weapon in a separate slot, which is almost like if you want to do a melee bash with a, if I can find the right key. No, that's the reload key. There we go. So yeah, you can still do a reload like a melee bash, but if you want to actually switch to a melee weapon, it's subject to the same kind of time it takes you to switch weapons otherwise. So that, the fact that you've now got melee things as a separate thing is fine, but the fact that it takes so long to switch to your melee weapon feels a bit, I don't know, it's not a huge incentive to actually go around meleeing things with your actual melee weapon so much. Because in the time it takes you to swap to a melee weapon, you might as well swap to just a different weapon. Right, this gun seems to be pointed the right way. I guess this is the gun we were supposed to... Right. So I don't remember having to do this last time, it was just the engines last time anyway, so... Shot the docking tower. And having done that, it's going to cause the thing to blow up. And naturally the fact that we're on the roof right under this thing and it's full of hydrogen, you know, I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure that's completely safe. Oh, a melee swipe there. So, I mean, apart from the flamethrower guys, honestly, like, it's just more that there are quite a lot of enemies that show up at some points. But bear in mind, this is kind of like standard difficulty. There is a harder difficulty level than this. There's also an easier difficulty level. I haven't actually tried the harder difficulty level, but I'm going to assume it just makes them more tankier. So that you have to go for headshots more. So that's it. That's, like, this didn't really take very long, and the others are of a similar-ish length, and this was all me by myself. The train gold one probably takes about as long, maybe a little bit longer. Oh wait, shoot! Pesky Nazis. And I'm literally just running to the exit. Oh, hello! A tiger tank? You get a tiger tank. That's new. I've never seen that before. Yeah, so they're all about, all three of them are all about the same length, 25, 20 minutes. Oh no! Yeah, every time you complete a mission you get one of these basically. There's a whole bunch of them. I hadn't actually seen that one before. And if you fail a mission you get different ones as well. So, XP, and this is all a bit Payday-ish, but you don't get to see, even if you're playing with other players, you don't get to see what other people got. There's no card system though. You can get random drop boxes, but I didn't get one that time. That give you a bonus. So it's kind of like the card system. So I might actually be able to get some, where are we, a character skill, so I've been going for that one. I really don't think there's any point in that, so I'll apply that. I think it's different in that you have to like you have to get gold, which is one of the currencies essentially, in order to be able to reset. It's not like Payday 2. It used to be like that in Payday 2. You had to, if you wanted to reset your skill points on a character, it would cost you something to do so. But that was one of the really positive changes they made with Payday 2, and the way that the skill trees worked is that you could just change it at will, and it was no longer a massive investment of of in-game money. So that made it so much easier to just play around and try and make new builds and stuff. And I don't know, that being kind of significantly toned down is not necessarily a bad thing, but it does take out part of the enjoyment of Payday 2, of trying new builds, of trying to do, you know, to try out silly things and just see what works, and you know, put together builds that are entertaining, or trying to put together builds that are optimal or whatever. So we did one of the things that means we can actually increase or decrease spread, which obviously just means an increase in accuracy. So there we go, and that changes the visual a bit. But as you go through, I don't know if it sticks with the same, like for that one there, it changes it to like a vented barrel, and I don't know if some of the changes override each other, or I mean, it is purely just, you know, I have no control over how this looks. It's just straight upgrades, basically. So, yeah, it's overall at the moment, if you've got Payday 2, I highly recommend you check this out and see what you think. But if the game comes out and it's really not much more than this, I won't be immediately jumping to buy it. I'll put it that way. I don't know, it's not quite there, even considering that this is a beta test essentially. It's just still somehow not quite there. It needs to have a bit more oomph. It has to have a bit more fun. It has to have the option of stealth. I would ideally like to have the ability to play around with different character builds and not just have here's 4 set classes and you can tweak them a little bit. And I would like to have the ability to tweak weapons more, or maybe to have more variety of weapons, so there's more choice between, you know, accuracy or rate of fire or whatever. You almost might argue that Payday 2's gone a bit too far as regards weapons, that it can actually be quite difficult to choose, especially if you're a newcomer to the game, just because there's a bewildering array of different guns to choose from. But this is almost the polar opposite, where there's no choice of weapons whatsoever. It's pretty much one weapon per class at the moment. So that's Raid at the moment, as it is right now. I think the beta goes on through something like till the middle of September. I don't know what the plans are after that, but I'll probably, you know, play another hour or two maybe. But yeah, I just, even in the like 2.5, maybe 3 hours at this point I've played already, I feel like I've played through everything there is to play in it. And there's a limited amount of replayability right now. So hopefully you found this look at Raid World War II interesting, and if you did, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.